Guys, please confirm to me. All of you read my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you read my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you read my voice and screen. Those are attending in online. Link change. Link పంపించావా? All right. Good evening, guys. All right, sir. And what is the schedule on this Sunday? Yes. Holiday, na? Holiday, na? Fine. No holiday. Advanced Java Max. The topic I need to complete there. I need to cover some topics in Advanced Java. 4 hours class. Please remember that. And when I complete this Advanced Java as early as possible, so then we will plan for like what there. Spring classes on weekends along with regular classes. As early as possible, we will complete spring. Then immediately I will start spring about content. Fine. Right, sir. Anyway, I have clear cut plan for it. Let's move on to the point. And can you identify what we completed in the last class? What exactly the points we understood there in the last classes now? To prepare web applications, there are two design models. I can give some heading also for this. Web applications, model architectures. Web applications, model architectures. All right. Model 1 architecture and Model 2 architecture. If you observe this, in Model 1 architecture, a JSP page is acting as a controller and as well as like what their viewport. And a Java bean is acting as a model component which has some business logic. Part of its business logic, it will interact with what their databases. Okay. Now, in this Model 1 web application architecture, client will send request to the controller or viewport. Then this controller will identify the model component and execute that model component provided business logic, perform some database operations. Again, this viewport will take that result from the model component and viewport is able to generate response to the respective client. In this case, a JSP page is acting as a front controller. That's why JSP front architecture it is. In this case, a JSP page is controlling the total application. So this architecture is called as what their page centric architecture. In this, what is the drawback here? We have to identify there. No separation between controller and viewport. Tightly coupled design here we are getting. Moreover, to perform this controller functionalities, so much, that means a lot of Java code we have to write inside the JSP pages, no? But writing Java code inside the JSP pages is against to the JSP rules and regulations. To overcome this particular problem, there we have to go for what there? We need to go for the second architecture, that is what there? Model 2 web application architecture. Let's move on to this point here. Model 2 web application architecture, what is available? Direct information. Model 2 web application architecture is what there is a MVC based architecture. MVC architecture, direct information. In this, a separate component we will use as a servlet and a separate set of JSP pages or HTML pages we have to use as viewport. And here model maybe Java Bean or JDBC code or Hibernate, whatever it may be, EJBs, like anything here we can use as what their model component. So request will come to the controller servlet. Controller servlet will identify the model component and execute the business logic. Part of the business logic, it will interact with the database and performs the database operations. After that, and like what there, and getting that flow of execution back to the controller. Controller will identify a particular viewport and forward request to the viewport. Viewport is able to generate dynamic response to the respective client. While generating dynamic response to the respective client, it is able to get data from like what their model component. This is completely the flow of execution of like what their MVC. That means model to web application architecture. Now tell me, in this model to web application architecture, both servlets and views, that means both the controller and view components are separated, not as a single component. There is a clear-cut separation between these two. So this is somewhat loosely coupled design. This is somewhat like what the loosely coupled design, what you are having clearly. Next one is, apart from this, what next one here we are understanding there. Okay, fine. Now, as a controller, we are using servlet. Inside the servlet, in the sense, it's a Java class only. Inside the Java class, might be how much amount of Java code you want to write, that we can provide depending on the requirement, depending on our application requirement, or depending on the controller responsibilities. Any type of Java code here we can provide, but we could not provide any Java code inside the JSP page. But inside the servlet class, we can provide the Java code only. So easily we can achieve the controller responsibilities. That's okay, fine. Right, sir. Some points are already given there. Now try to understand it now. Model 2 web application architecture is a pure MVC architecture. All right, sir. Next one is what there. Some of the web application frameworks are designed on the basis of the model 2 web application architecture. So these frameworks are called what there? MVC based web frameworks. What are the various MVC based web frameworks? No, Struts, JSF, Spring, Web MVC, Xwork2, and so on. All these things are like what there? MVC based web application frameworks. What next one are given there? If we want to prepare web applications on the basis of the MVC architecture, then we have to use the following rules and regulations. What are the various rules and regulations here we are using there? In MVC based web applications, we must use a servlet as controller and a set of JSP pages as viewport. We must not interchange the controller and view components. Understand it clearly. In MVC based web applications, controller must take all the requests from clients and viewport must generate response to the respective clients. Controller is responsible for getting requests from client. Viewport is responsible for sending responses to the respective clients. In MVC based web applications, the controller component must interact with the model component to set data to the model in order to execute the business logic. In MVC based web applications, the viewport will interact with the model component to get the data from the model component. In MVC based web applications, the controller must not interact with the database directly. The controller may interact with the databases through what part here? Model component only. You know already the points here. So controller should not interact with the database directly. It has to interact with the database through what? The model component. Answer my point clearly. Next one is what there. As a viewport, we are using number of pages, but all the pages must be provided with Java code less. As much as possible, we have to reduce the Java code inside these pages. That is Java codeless. Next one is what? After this, after completion of this point here, what I'm telling to you. Viewport here, if you observe this clearly, inside this viewport here, all right, inside this viewport, then what we are providing there. Right, sir. Now understand the point here clearly. Yeah. In MVC based web applications, what next one here we have to do there? We should not provide page-to-page communication. There we must provide what there? Page controller page communication. There we must provide what there? Page controller page communication only. We must not provide page-to-page communication. That's it. Only these are the points here. We understood clearly. All right, sir. Good. Then after that, after completion of this, we started with what topic there? Now tell me. Frameworks topic here we provided. Am I right? After understanding this, then we understood like what are their frameworks. Okay, fine. Yeah. In the frameworks, what we provided clearly. Consider the following applications. Already completed this part, right? Consider the following application. This is MVC based application. Two applications here we prepared here. In both the applications, controller servlet is available. Its responsibility or functionality is very same. Get the request from client, forward that request to the respective modules at server side. At each and every module, some services are required. What services are required? You know, validation, logging, internationalization, security. At each and every module, these services are required clearly. Fine. Same thing in another application also be controller servlet responsibilities what they're getting requests from client, forwarding that request to the modules. At each and every module, we have to perform some services like what they validation, logging, internationalization, security, and so on. These many things here we are providing. Got it or not? Right, sir. Now observe carefully. In all the enterprise applications, some components like controller servlets and some services like data validations, security, logging, internationalization, and so on are very common and very much frequent. These common components and services will take nearly 70% of the actual implementation of the enterprise application development. Sir, got it or not? So these common components and services will take 70% of the actual implementation in the enterprise applications. Fine. Some third-party vendors have provided the above 70% common implementation of the enterprise applications in their own products called as frameworks. That means some of the third-party vendors have provided the above 70% of the implementation of the enterprise applications in their own products called what their frameworks. If you prepare an enterprise application with the help of frameworks, then the developers have to provide only the remaining 30% of the implementation, not required to provide the total 70% of the implementation. No. All right, explicitly. So developers work will be reduced, development time will be reduced, development cost will be reduced, and productivity will be increased, and so on. So many advantages here we are able to get. Understand my point clearly? All right. Then after that, what exactly the meaning of the framework? Then here I given some explanations to you. Now try to understand it clearly. Definition for the framework is like what there. Framework is the prefabricated software components. I said to you already 70% of the implementation is a predefined implementation. In that 70% of the predefined implementation, controller servlet is one component, is a predefined component. Some services are available, internationalization, security, validations, all these are predefined now. So it's a prefabricated software components. All these components are predefined components. And they had some communication also between all the components. So they're prefabricated software components that developer can reuse. One time if you have the services now that we can reuse at each and every module, the developer can customize. If you want to define your own way some services there, we can customize the existing services now. The developer can extend. Already they had some X functionality, we can extend that functionality up to like what their Y functionality, and the developer can share. One time if we provide that might be service no or component that we can share to multiple modules here, developer can share in order to simplify the enterprise application development. In order to simplify what their enterprise application development. Understand it clearly. Next one, framework is a semi-implemented application. 70% of the actual enterprise application is provided by frameworks only. So we can call it as what there, a semi-implemented application. It simplifies the enterprise application development. 70% is already available, then developer work is what there, 30% is only. So it simplifies the enterprise application development. Next one is, framework is a collection of tools and technologies. Frameworks is a collection of what are the tools and technologies. It can be used to prepare the enterprise applications as per the developer's convenience. So for example, if we take any framework, any type of framework here we can take no, but inside this framework, what happened there? A collection of technologies are available. Say for example, web framework. Web framework must have what their servlet support. So servlet technology is available inside this servlet technology. Understand my point here? JSP technology, JSTL, and expression language. These technologies are available. At the same time, predefined components are available. Predefined tools are going to be available. Exception handling requires some service. Internally, some implementation is required. Transaction API is required. Transaction support is required. Connection pooling is going to be available. Connection pooling support is required. These are like what their technologies and tools. There's a combination of some technologies and tools. All right, and it can be this combination of technologies and tools are used to prepare the enterprise applications as per the developers convenience, as per what their developers convenience. Try to understand it clearly. Okay, next one is what are the advantages of the frameworks? Already we have seen some advantages there, right? What are the various advantages here we are able to understand now? Now tell me. So all these are like what are their advantages now? These advantages. Now let me, once again, I want to provide the same advantages here. First one is what there. Number one, advantage number one, developers work will be reduced. Number two, development time will be reduced. Normal. This is another one. Okay. Next one is what there, development cost will be reduced. Nice. And the next one is like what there, productivity will be increased. Okay, these are normal advantages only. But apart from this, some other points are available. That because of that other points only, I've taken this topic. All right, what is that another point here? Observe carefully. Frameworks are able to provide a standard template for designing the enterprise applications. A template, a model. It provides a standard model for preparing web applications. For example, if I'm not using MVC architecture, for example, for our applications, of course, frameworks are following MVC architecture. If I'm not using MVC architecture, then what happened there? No, we can use servlets in any manner. We can use JSPs in any manner. We can use Java beans in any manner. No proper guidelines, no proper direction. Without having any proper direction, all the components we are going to use in any manner. So that implementation is not a standard implementation. But if we use frameworks now, automatically some rules and regulations are coming. What rules and regulations are coming? As a controller, you must use this servlet. A servlet we have to use, that's okay, that's the rule. But which is servlet? A particular servlet. You should not use your own servlet. But without framework, if I use no, we can prepare any servlet as controller. But if we use some particular framework, you must use this particular servlet as a controller. In the case of struts framework, action servlet. Yeah, it's a predefined way. You have to use that action servlet only as a controller. If you use JSF framework, no, faces servlet. That faces servlet must be used as a controller. It's a defined, predefined, a direction, clear-cut direction, clear-cut template. Understand my point clearly? In the case of the Spring WebMVC framework, no, dispatcher servlet, we have to use that. That is mandatory. What we have to use there? Dispatcher servlet. Sir, all of you are following these points or not? Dispatcher servlet here we have to use. So this clear-cut direction is provided by the frameworks. So because of that reason, what we are going to provide there, frameworks will provide a standard template to prepare enterprise applications or web applications. No issues for it. A standard template it is able to provide to define enterprise applications or web applications. Fine. Next one is, understand this clearly. This is MVC, right? This is MVC. On the base of MVC based framework, if we take no, almost a similar flow of execution is going on, but internally some rules and regulations. Yeah, just 2 minutes wait no. So I want to give that exact point here. I want to take a little bit about struts framework flow of execution. Just 1 minute. Maybe it may be useful in the future. Outdated, but may be useful in the future. To understand one point, I'm going to talk about struts framework flow of execution. Try to understand it clearly. For example, I want to take this is like what their login form dot HTML. Login form dot HTML. Their username and password, and here we are having like what their login button. That's it. Now get this is login form.html. This is maybe something else like what their success or failure pages, no, success.jsp or something else, failure.jsp or something else, status.jsp, for example, status.jsp. Inside this status.jsp, we may go for like what there, maybe login, success or failure, whatever it may be, something else here it is able to display. Okay. Now here we are able to have action servlet. This is what we are having there, no, action servlet. Action servlet is like what there, controller basically, front controller. Action servlet is what there, front controller. Now, with respect to this login form.html, here we provided user data. Am I right or not? What data here we provided here? No, user data. Username and password we are going to provide. The data has to be stored in the form of like what they some object at server side. That's why we are going to take a bean component. What bean component here we are going to take now? Now this bean component is called as like what their login action form. Separate component login action form. Now inside this, what we are able to have there, string uname, then string upwd. Of course, we can declare them as what they're private. Here also like what they're private. Now what we have to provide there, set xxx methods and get xxx methods. Like here setters and getters here we are able to prepare. Okay, right. This is login action form. Next one is what they offer this. This is like what their login action. This is what their login action class. Now inside this login action class, there is a method like what their execute method with some parameters. Almost all 4 parameters here we required here. 4 parameters here we have to provide. Okay, there only here we have to provide the business logic which is required to perform login. Login respect to business logic here we have to provide. This is like for their login action. Yes, sir, got it or not? Right. Now, whenever we completed this particular one here success or failure, this entire content is available. These are the components in the structs framework here I'm telling you, but observe carefully how flow of execution is going to be happen. Of course, now here we are having some configuration file also. Let me give that information also there. By that you are able to complete it. Here we are able to have some configuration file where inside this configuration file login form to login action form, from this to login action, that mapping is available. Right, sir. All of you observe carefully. This is the structure configuration file now. Structure-config.xml actually. XML file here we are getting. In the structure 2.x version, in place of this structure config, in place of structure configuration file, annotations are used. In the structure 2.x version, this is 1.x version I'm telling there, annotations are utilized. Annotation support is introduced there. Okay, fine. So now let's move on to the points here. All of you observe carefully. First of all, we are entering the data. Understand it? Flow of execution. No? Again, I'm telling that even though it is outdated, but that flow of execution is useful for us to understand the future content. Username is like what there? Durga. User password is like what there? Durga. Maybe Durga 123 or somewhere else. Values here we provided. click on login button. Click on what button? Login button. When you click on login button, automatically request will come to what their actions alert. Actions alert will have the URL with the URL with which URL pattern is coming there. Something else, some action name is available. That is like for their login form with a particular name that request is coming. For example, I'm telling you. Okay. All right, sir. Now, what this action alert is able to do for this login form? See, in web application, number of forms are available. Where one of the form is what there login form.html. Number of action classes are available. Where one of the action class with respect to this login form is what there login action. Where number of action form class are available, but with respect to the login form, one action form we provided, that is what there login action form. Registration form.html is available, registration action is available, registration action form is available. Like this here we can identify so many things are available. But when request is coming there, action alert will take that request. For this particular form, what should be the action class and what should be the action form class, it has to identify. Understand my point here? For this particular form, what should be the login, what should be the action form, what should be the action class, that action alert has to identify this. For that, it will go to what the struts configuration file, struts-config.xml file now. And struts-config.xml, it's trying to match this one and this name. Yes, sir, both the names are matched or not? When both the names are matched, automatically it will identify the respective action form class. All right, after that it will identify the respect to like what their action class. On the basis of the same name, it able to identify the respective what their action class. Both action form class and as well as like what their action class, both are identified. Am I right or not? When both are identified by these actions alert, first directly it will go to like what their login action form. Then for this login action form, what it is able to create now, immediately it able to create an object for this particular action form object. An object will be created. Inside this object, what data is going to be stored here? Now we can understand this clearly. Uname is equal to Durga. Then upwd is equal to Durga 123. Like this here, data here we are able to save. Bean object is created. After completion of this, then what next one here we are able to get now? Then immediately action alert will identify the respective login action. Now that login action is going to be executed. Inside this execute method is available, it will be executed. By the execution of this login, authentication will be performed here. When it performs that authentication, then immediately it will forward request to like what there status.jsp. There we are able to get the value like what there, either login success or login failure, either of the value here we are able to get. That's it. This is the flow of execution here we can identify. So got it or not? So just names only I provided specifically. It's a form, action form, action class. If it is login form.html, login action form, login action. If it is registration form.html, registration action form, registration action. If it is add form.html, add action form, add action. Sir, got it or not? Now tell me. Take any type of web application in a Struts framework. This entirely Struts framework flow of execution. Take any type of application in Struts framework. This flow of execution is a fixed or not? This flow of execution is what there fixed or not? Understand my point? This entire flow of execution is fixed. Otherwise, what we are going to do, in place of login form, we are going to write what there registration form. In place of login action form, we are going to write what there registration action form. In place of login action, we are going to write what there registration action. Only names, only components are only be changed, but the flow of execution is very much fixed. Request must come to actions alert. First, it will go to struts configuration file, identify the action class and action form class, create object for action form class, store data into the action form object. Next, again creating object for login action. After that, executing that business logic. Right here itself, we can interact with the databases now from this action class. After that, forwarding request to what their respective pages. So, if you're getting it or not. So this entirely is nothing but what there a framework. It has a fixed flow of execution between the components. Moreover, it is providing a standard template or not. What components here we required? Action servlet is one of the components. One class is required for action. One class is required for what? Their action form. Configuration file is required. Fixed flow of execution. The components and their locations are fixed or not. That means it's a standard template or not. It's having a standard template or not. That's why what's the point here I said to you, frameworks will provide a standard template to prepare the web applications. Similarly, frameworks will provide a frameworks will provide a standard flow of execution, to the enterprise applications or web applications. Now in this case I am telling to you enterprise applications or web applications or maybe applications, simply speaking. No need to specify clearly web applications, not required to specify that clearly, just simply application, that's it. That application may be anything, right? Understand it clearly. Execution to the applications, fine sir. Standard flow of execution to the application, that's okay, fine. Now these diagrams, if you observe this, these validation, logging and internationalization security are internal to the frameworks, inbuilt services from the frameworks. We are not going to define them explicitly. Frameworks are providing these common services. I said to you already, framework is providing 70% of the actual implementation of the enterprise application or not. In that 70%, these all the services are also being included. In the 70%, all the services are also being included. So because of that reason, what's the point here I'm telling to you? Frameworks will provide all the generic services. Generic services in the sense, what's the meaning of the generic services? No, common services at each and every module. Common, generalization, general services, common services. That's why they're called as what? They're generic services. Frameworks will provide all the generic services like validations, security, connection pooling. Inbuilt connection pooling mechanisms are available. Connection pooling, exception handling, and so on and so on and so on. Frameworks will provide all the generic services like validations, security, connection pooling, exception handling, and so on as a inbuilt support, inbuilt services. All these services as what? They're inbuilt services. Answer my point clearly. Next one is, apart from that, frameworks supports parallel development. Framework support what? There parallel development. That's it. We can prepare your pages separately. Action classes separately we can prepare. Action forms we can prepare separately. Like this, parallel development supports parallel development. Support parallel development. Okay, and another component here. Frameworks will reduce boilerplate code. Frameworks will reduce what? Their boilerplate code. What is the meaning of this boilerplate code? No, duplicate code. Say for example, database connection are required at each and every action class. 100 action classes are available. But if I use a framework now, internally framework is providing data source service for us. Data source service, connection pooling service it is providing there. Define connection pool mechanism inside the framework. Then reuse the same data source object and connection objects at each and every module. Then automatically, what support here we are getting there? Reduce what code here? No, boilerplate code. Anyway, for the sake of your easiness, I'm able to provide the what there. Frameworks will reduce duplicate code. Code duplication will be reduced in the case of like what there? Frameworks. This is another point here we are able to understand. Like this, number of advantages here we are able to get with what their frameworks. More and more number of advantages here we are able to get with what their frameworks. Sir, all of you are following or not? Try to understand it, what I'm trying to discuss with you. I need to talk about Spring Framework. But before going to talk about Spring Framework, first of all, what is framework? What advantages we are able to get from frameworks? Right, sir. Now, all these points here we need to understand. Then only we are able to understand that Spring Framework effectively. Right, sir. It's okay. Leave this point here. After completion of these frameworks, now, how many types of frameworks are available? How many types of frameworks are available in outside? That we have to understand. Right, sir? Understand this clearly. Types of frameworks. Before that, I'm asking one question to you. Now, try to answer for it. How many types of servers are available now? Tell me. Two types of servers. What are the two types of servers now? Web servers and application servers. Two types of servers are available. What are the two types of servers now? Web servers and application servers. Tell me, what is this web server? Web server will provide environment for executing only web applications. Application servers will provide environment to execute web applications and as well as what their distributed applications, any type of applications. Clearly got it or not? Similarly, now if we come for these types of frameworks, now there are two types of frameworks. What are the two types of frameworks here? First one is web frameworks. First one is what there? Web frameworks. And second one is what there? Application frameworks. Web frameworks. And second one is what there? Application frameworks. All right, sir. Now here, this is one of the important interview question. Now try to understand it clearly. First one is what there? Web frameworks. And second one is what there? Application frameworks. This is one of the important interview question in outside. Now try to understand it clearly. What is the difference between web frameworks and application frameworks? What is the difference between web frameworks and application frameworks? All of you observe carefully. It's almost the same as web server and application server. Already aware about it. What is that web server and what is that application server? Almost the same to like what there, like same content, web framework and application framework. All right, sir. Now understand these points clearly. Web frameworks are able to provide a very good environment to execute, to design and execute only web applications. Come on, now tell me. Web frameworks are able to provide a very good environment to design and execute only which applications? No, web applications. Now examples for these web frameworks are what there? Yeah, as I said to you, struts. Next one is what there? JSF, Xwork2, and so on and so on and so on. These are all like what there? Web frameworks. Next one is application frameworks are able to provide a very good environment to design and execute any type of application, any type of application like standalone application just with main class main method. Yes, we can prepare that. Standalone applications, comma, web applications, servlets and JSPs, MVC based applications, comma, distributed applications like what there? EJB's applications, EJB related components here, something else, no, distributed applications, comma, after this distributed applications. The next one is database related applications, database related applications. All of you understand it clearly. Database related applications, and so on and so on and so on. Any type of application, and so on and so on and so on. Like what there? Any type of application. Is it got it or not? Any type of application. Or else in an enterprise application, each and every corner of the application we can prepare by using what there? These are application frameworks. Got it or not? All right, sir. Example for this application frameworks are, as per my concern, I have seen only one framework about this application frameworks. That framework is what there? Spring framework. Simple. For example, listen carefully. And outside might be some shopping malls are available. Say for example, RS Brothers, you might be aware about it. RS Brothers shopping mall, you might be aware. Where what we can identify, what we can get. Not tell me. Only shirts or maybe clothes. Only these clothes related things only here we are able to get. Of course, there kid wear, men wear, or maybe female related, all the things here we are able to get. But anything, order it may be only cloth related things only. All right, textiles, this department. At the same time, DMart is available outside. DMart, I think you are aware about it. DMart. Okay, just leave this one. Not even DMart. Something else. Hyderabad Central, you might be aware. Lifestyle, you can identify. Lifestyle is okay, leave it no. But Hyderabad Central is okay. Or DMart is the best example. Supermarket, more clearly, Metro. Are you aware about it? Metro shopping malls. Lulu shopping malls. Recently, IKEA. All these are. If we identify this, then what we can identify? Not only clothes, everything we are able to get. That is a simple location for any kind of item what you require. Everything is available. Yes, sir, got it or not? You are not aware about it at starting point of this IKEA and Hyderabad. Then everybody they are talking about IKEA, that shopping mall, everything we can identify, that environment is good. Some people are giving some kind of feeding to me. One day I thought of it, on one Sunday I thought of it. Arey, why I'm not visiting that? At least I want to go for it one time, no? That's why I called my brother, had a vehicle, no? Just we both together went to the IKEA. Then what happened there? When I go there in a parking location, when I go there in parking location, that entry point is available at parking location. Almost all nearly 300 to 350 members of queue is there. Members queue in a line. I thought of it. If I complete this queue, if I go inside this shopping mall, if I see overall thing now, definitely this today is not going to be sufficient. Okay, at some other day, at Sunday evening, I went there actually. Evening 5:30 or 6 o'clock, I reached there. Then I checked it. I thought of it. Alright, then why people are might be this much of demand is going on there. Then by the time onwards, still I didn't went inside that mall. I've not seen that. That is one thing. But might be recent, I think so 2 to 3 days back, I've seen some news in the social media. Lulu malls might be they opened there. But what happened there on the days now? Public went there, they have taken food items and they are eaten that food items now, without paying any bill, nothing else. Just they have seen crowd is more. In that more crowd, what they are unable to manage this much of people there. Then whatever the food items are available, whatever the cool drinks are available, they are taking it and they enjoyed it. That's it. That's the opening ceremony. You can think of it. Right, sir. The point is what I'm telling there, that shopping malls are providing any item what we required. Yeah, I think you understood why I'm giving this comparison now. That simple RS Brothers shop, if you have to there, only one type of item, that is only web framework, only web application development. But if you go for any shopping mall there, everything is available, anything we can do. That is what their application frameworks. Obviously, now tell me which one will get more demand in outside? Is it RS Brothers or maybe shopping malls? No. RS Brothers is also be having somewhat demand in the textiles area. Understand my point, you know? But in the textiles area, maybe RS Brothers is okay, branded one. But more than that, IKEA is having more demand. Lulu, Then shopping mall is having more demand. Metro is having more demand, or maybe at least D-Mart is having more demand. And D-Mart also with the rush is too much. Frequently, I used to go there for the sake of my items. No, there might be on Saturday and especially on Sunday, then unable to manage that crowd. That much of crowd is there. Okay, fine. Uh, can I give one instance which I heard there actually? Just almost a few days back, I find it actually. I went to D-Mart actually for the sake of some items I want to take there. I went there. Just I'm in discussion with some representative there. I want to have some bulk of actually then for chocolates I went there. Bulk chocolates I want to get that Cadbury like what there celebrations that small box is going on. Nearly I want to take 600 boxes. I went there. I went there just I'm in conversation with some representative. I want to have this much of. Then actually they don't want to provide that bulk of items for a single person. But I asked them I want to have it. But in that conversation, whenever I'm in the conversation, automatically one person who is working in the same DMart, he came to me, just he stand on in front of me. He said to me, "Good morning." Who is this person is saying that good morning is a worker here? Just I observed clearly. Unfortunate thing is, whether he is our student, not previous batch student, present batch student. Yeah, which batch is not required? Just leave it now. Present running batch student. Okay. I feel shy on that moment actually. I feel ugly. That means I'm not comfortable. In front of him, I'm feeling shy to stand in front of him. The BTech person, graduate. I asked him, what you are doing here? So some products are coming there. He has to carry that products to the store. He has to get some products from the store to the location where to display. How much it is painful now, think about it. I asked him, only you are the person or any other person is working? No, sir, along with me, two more persons are working. This is one painful situation. Recently, I have seen it. Almost all 7 to 8 days back, I had seen one more situation. In outskirts, I went for some occasion, marriage occasion in outside outskirts. Maybe it's near to Shamshabad. Near to the Shamshabad, I went there for marriage occasion. Where I want to take some money. I need some money there for the sake of something else. I didn't remember for what purpose there. I want to take some money. I went to the ATM center there. Near that to that ATM center, I went there. Where a security guard is available. He's our student by the time. Really, I felt allotted. Almost 3 days of time, my mind was not in my control. In this situation, there now. See, the situations are demand. That means, see, not the mistake from them. The mistake is what there in this hard time completing BTech is the point. I think you are also facing the same thing. Of course, you are not working in the locations there, but the situation is almost like that in outside. Even by thinking about it, every day I'm trying to send mails to the company people there, then nobody is responding even for me also. Previously, maybe one or two members have responded. They said to me, maybe then they said to me next month like this they drag now. Finally, they are given information that next March or April like this. So anyway, then why I'm giving information to you? Situations are hard in outside. Situations are very hard in outside, but you are somewhat lucky. At least you are having this some financial support, and our parents are giving some kind of money. Okay, right, sir. From my side, as well as possible, I have to complete the courses there. I'm in that plan only. Don't worry for it. But from your side also, don't point out me why you are not completing courses again. But I'm ready to complete the courses again. But from this, how much you are understanding the content, that one also you have to think about it. So try to utilize the time properly now. Right. Now let's move to the point here. Not required for us, no. So the points are like what there. Web frameworks are providing environment for only what their web applications. Application frameworks are providing environment for what their any type of application. Understand my point clearly? Right, sir. So example is what their Spring framework. Now web frameworks examples are like what their Struts framework. then immediately we are getting one important interview question. What are the questions here we are getting there? Of course, nowadays interviewers may not ask this question. Answer my point here. Nowadays may not ask the questions like this here, but maybe chances are available to get this question. Why? Because somewhat outdated related questions only, but as per my responsibility, I have to give that information. That's why I'm talking about this question here now. Maybe less chances are available to get this question, but I need to talk about it. What are the point here? To prepare applications, we have already structured JSF. We have already structured JSF. Then, what is the requirement? What is the requirement to use? What is the requirement to use Spring framework? Got the point here? That means this question. Maybe if you take it is 5 to 6 years back now. This is a interview question, very important interview question. But nowadays people are not having awareness on struts and JSF. No, they're having awareness on only Spring framework. But maybe a corner side, 1 or 2 interviews may ask this question. That's why I'm covering this point here. Less number of chances are available to ask that. But 5 to 6 years back, no, this is very important interview question, damn sure question. But as we are going to learn a Spring framework, at least we need to understand what is the greatness of this Spring framework. 1 minute. So we are going to understand all the points here now. Right. Now let's move on to the point here. Point number one. Point number one. One difference you already aware. What is the difference between struts and JSF? That means to prepare applications, we have already struts and JSF. Then what is the requirement to go for Spring framework? One difference already you have. What the difference you had already? Now tell me. Come on. Struts and JSF are what? Struts and JSF are what? Web application frameworks. Am I right or not? Web application frameworks. But Spring framework, but Spring is a what? Spring is application framework. Spring is what there? Application framework. I want to give more clarity. Struts and JSF are web application frameworks. They'll provide an environment. They'll provide a very good environment. They'll provide a very good environment to prepare only web applications. Spring is application framework. It will provide a very good environment. It will provide a very good environment to prepare any type of application like standalone application, comma, web application, comma, distributed applications, comma, database related applications, and so on and so on and so on. This is point number one. All right, sir. Point number two. All of you observe carefully. In struts is the MVC based framework. Struts is what there? MVC based framework, where it will have main concentration on controller component. It has main concentration on what there? Controller component. Is a controller based framework. MVC parts are available. Controller, front end control is very strong in the case of like what there? Struts framework. JSF framework is available. It is a view based framework. It should have main concentration on only presentation viewport. Struts framework is controller based framework. MVC only, both are MVC only, but struts is what the controller based framework. It has strong controller layer. But JSF is what their view based framework. It has very good look and feel. It is able to provide very good look and feel. It has a strong layer for presentation part now. But Spring is available. Spring is able to provide environment for each and every corner of the enterprise application. Presentation part we can provide. It has a strong controller. It has a strong presentation part. At the same time, like what there, strong database interaction layers. So every corner of the enterprise application that Spring is able to cover. Yes, sir. Are you following my point or not? That's the second point here I'm telling to you. Now understand it clearly. Struts is a controller based web framework. It will have a very good focus on, it will have a very good focus on the controller layer. JSF is a view, JSF is what their view based web framework. View based web framework. It will have a very good focus on presentation part. Will have very good focus on what their presentation part. Understand it clearly. Alright, sir. Next, another point is like what there. JSF is a view-based web framework. It will have very good focus on the presentation layer. Okay. Spring framework. Spring framework will have a very good focus on all the layers of the enterprise applications. All the layers of the enterprise applications. Understand it clearly what I'm telling you now. Right, sir. Then people are asking one question to me. I think so. This is not the right question now at present. How can we differentiate between standalone application and web application? I think right from my core Java classes onwards, very first class onwards, I'm teaching this point. Yes, sir. Am I right or not? J2SE for standalone application development. If we design and execute any application without using client server architecture, just by distributing the total application logic in a single machine, then that application is called as what? Standalone application. If we design and execute any application on the basis of the client server architecture or by distributing application logic over multiple machines, then that application is what there? Enterprise application or distributed application. Where an enterprise application, web application is what there? One of the application. And moreover, I've given some differences, web application and distributed application. Okay, that we can identify. That's it. The point is like what? Third point here. Observe carefully. Struts and Spring, All right, sir. Struts is, listen carefully. Struts is a heavyweight framework. Struts is a heavyweight framework. Of course, we can understand like what there. Struts and JSF almost all. But JSF is somewhat lightweight when compared with the Struts framework, but not when compared with what the Spring framework. Spring framework is too much lightweight. But JSF is what there somewhat heavyweight, but lightweight when compared with what the Struts framework. Struts framework is a heavyweight framework. Okay. How can you say these Struts and JSF directly here? I want to write it when compared with Spring. Struts and JSF are heavyweight frameworks. How can you say that heavyweight frameworks? One point here I'm telling you. Previously, if you observe this diagrammatic representation, business logic will be provided in which class? No, login action class. In which method we have to write it? No, execute method. Okay. All right. Now I want to write the prototype of this execute method. Understand it clearly. Public action forward execute action form forward action HTTP servlet request forward action. All right, sir. HTTP servlet request RQ comma HTTP servlet response throws exception. This method here we have to write. That means action class here I want to write it. Now here we can identify this public class login action extends action. I think so. Some package is available. Argo dot spring frame. Sorry, argo dot starts dot or maybe something else. Some package is available here. Action dot. Now here we need to write like what there action. Now inside this here we have to write this one. Here we have to write something else. Now here we have to provide some implementation here. Like this here we have to close this. This is login action. Now tell me this login action, this execute method will be executed by the action servlet automatically. This action servlet will be executed by the action servlet automatically. Execute method will be executed by the action servlet automatically. Got my point or not? But when framework is executing execute method automatically, framework has to pass these parameters or not. How many parameters must be passed there internally? Action form, forward action, HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet response. Automatically these objects must be created or not. I'll understand this point clearly. Automatically these objects must be created. At the end, it has to return which object? No, action forward object. Now tell me to execute, they access this execute method, simple execute method. To access the simple execute methods, how many objects are created by the frameworks? No? Almost all 5 objects are required or not? That means to execute one simple execute method, internally struts framework or similar to JSF framework has to create 5 objects. Internally, they must have. 1 minute. Right, sir. Now, to execute the simple execute method internally, how many objects must be created? 5 objects must be created. But in the case of Spring framework, if we take this one, if it is a login, for example, just simply I'm going to take what there public class login. Inside this public class login, private string uname, Java bean class only. Next one is what there private string upwd. Then here itself we are going to write a method like what there public or maybe void or string, anything, no issues for it. String check login method. Check login method, that's enough. Even not required to go for any other parameters, directly we can execute the business logic. Now tell me, to execute this business logic, is there any requirement to create any other object? Any framework objects are required? No framework objects are required. Got it or not? Now tell me, in which case more number of objects are creating? In a struts framework, more number of objects are creating. In which case less number of objects are creating? In this case, a Spring framework. In which framework more number of objects are created? That is a heavyweight framework. In which framework more number of objects are created? That is what their heavyweight framework. In which framework less number of objects are created? That is what their lightweight framework. By this, now tell me, we can understand it now. Which framework is a heavyweight and which framework is lightweight? No. Struts and JSF are what their heavyweight frameworks, but the Spring framework is what their lightweight framework. Spring framework is what their lightweight framework. So this is the point here we have to understand clearly. Struts and JSF are what their heavyweight frameworks. They must create more number of objects internally to process any request or to perform any action. They need to create, they must create more number of more objects to process, to perform any action internally. But in the case of this Spring framework, Spring is a lightweight framework. Spring is what there lightweight framework. Spring is a lightweight framework. Okay. All right. It is not required to create any object internally to execute or to perform any process, to perform any task, any server-side task. It is not required to create any object internal. That means extra objects. Where 5 objects are created. But in the case of Spring Framework, strictly the methods. Direct methods here, we can understand clearly. Alright, sir. Now this is a clear-cut information here. We are getting clearly now. Alright, sir. After this, after completion of this particular content here. Okay, right, sir. Next one is what there. After completion of this, the fourth point here. Listen, all of you listen carefully. What about this fourth point here? We are getting it now. In the case of struts framework, if I want to prepare any action class, how I'm going to prepare this action class now? Observe carefully. Public action form class. First of all, I'm telling to you. Public class login action form extends action form. This action form is what there predefined one. This action form is what there predefined one. Predefined library. Action class here I want to prepare. Public class login action extends action. Here action is what there predefined one. Inside this public action forward execute action form AF comma forward action FA comma HTTP servlet request RQ comma HTTP servlet response RES throws exception. Just I'm asking one question to you now, try to answer for it clearly. Inside this, to prepare this action form, one predefined library we have to use. To prepare action class, predefined library, predefined library, predefined library, predefined library, forward action. Then predefined library. But the same in the case of Spring framework, both if you observe this, public class login action or something else we can take it now, or login bean something else here we have to take, where simply here what we are providing there properties private string uname, similarly private string upwd. Next one is what there set xxx methods and get xxx methods. After this we are going to write like what there public string check login. Now here I am asking one question to you. Both are equal to a single class in the case of what there Spring framework. By this also we can understand lightweight and heavyweight. How much predefined library we have used here in the case of struts framework now? Almost all 6 to 7 predefined classes here we have used or not? Classes or interfaces, whatever it may be. That means more predefined library we have used or not? But in the case of Spring framework, how much predefined library here we have used it? Less predefined library or not? Maybe max we are using what the string class. It's common. String class utilization of the string class is common, and even in a simple program also, core Java program also. So here less predefined library, but here how much predefined library here we have to provide there? More predefined library here we are providing. So now the conclusion here, what I am telling to you, observe carefully. Struts and JSF are more API dependent. More API dependent. What's the meaning of more API dependent? They must use more predefined library. They must use what there? More predefined library. Alright, sir? Alright, sir. But the Spring framework is what there? Spring framework is a less API dependent. Spring framework is what there? Less API dependent. It will use less API, that means less predefined library. library will be very less in the case of like what there Spring framework. Right, sir. Understand this clearly. So wherever we are providing more API dependent, wherever we are providing less API dependent, then automatically one small note here we have to understand. If the framework is more API dependent, where debugging and testing are very much difficult. Where less API dependency is available, where debugging and testing are very simple. I'll understand my point clearly. Right, sir. Now, then another point is like what I'm telling to you. Point number 5. In the case of struts and JSF, in the case of struts and JSF, debugging and testing are very much difficult because of more API dependent. Next one is in the case of Spring, debugging and testing are very simple. Debugging and testing are like what they're very simple. Yes, sir. All of you are getting it or not? What I'm telling you now. Right, sir. In the case of struts and JSF, debugging and testing are very much difficult. In the case of Spring framework, debugging and testing are what they're very simple. Right, sir. Next one is another point. All of you observe carefully. Listen carefully. Spring framework, if you take now, inside the Spring framework, number of modules are available. Number of modules. What are the various modules now? First, core module. Next one is a JDBC module. Next one is a ORM module. Next one is a AOP module. Next one is what the transactions module. Next one is what the web module, web MVC module. These many modules are available. So we can call it as modularized framework. The Spring framework is what there modularized frameworks. But in the case of struts and JSF, no modules are available. That entire thing is a single framework. That's it. No modules are available. Entire thing is what the single framework. So struts and JSFs are not modularized frameworks. But what is the advantage of this modularized framework or non-modularized frameworks? No. For example, if I take any struts application, a simple login module I want to implement, login program I want to execute. For the sake of this login program, entire struts framework has to be loaded with or without the remaining components utilization, but entire struts framework has to be loaded. Same thing is over JSF. But in the case of Spring framework, if you prepare the program, a simple program, only core module has to be loaded. Remaining modules are not required to be loaded. Yes, sir, got it or not? So this advantage we are able to get because of Spring framework is what there modularized framework. Because of Spring framework is what there modularized framework, but it is not available in the case of like what there struts and JSF. Right, sir. So the point is what there struts and JSF are modularized frameworks. Struts and JSF are not what their modularized frameworks. For any simple program, we must load the complete struts and JSF. We must load the complete struts and JSF. But Spring is a modularized framework. Spring is a modularized framework. For any simple program, the respective module has to be loaded. The respective module has to be loaded instead of loading the complete Spring framework. Understand it clearly. So now tell me, which one is easy to use? No, which one is a lightweight and which one is a heavyweight? No, Spring is what there lightweight and struts is what there heavyweight here. No, sir, all of you are getting it or not? Like this, few more points are remaining there. That few more points I will discuss with you tomorrow, but mainly these are the points that we are understanding. One or two points are remaining. I'll discuss about that one or two points. Then after that, officially I'll keep the heading Spring Framework and its modules next part. After completion of the modules explanation, then I'll go with what there steps to prepare first Spring application. After that, Spring core module I'm going to start clearly. Right, sir. Almost all. Effectively, we are going to start what there? Spring framework here now. Right? Right, sir. Within few minutes, I'll start like what there on this advanced Java class. Just wait here. Those who are attending for it now. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Meet you tomorrow. Yeah. Praveen, just this is a link for this class too. Understand it? Yeah, there we go. Hibernate not yet started there. Then I'll start the Hibernate after the advanced Java classes. Okay. Yes, there we go, ma'am. Please hurry. Come on. Yeah, market is still not up. Then maybe it may take next March or April. In that time only, you are going to have this market there. Think of it, not immediately. Okay. Still dry season is going on in outside. Maybe next March or April. Thank you.